Well, good afternoon or good evening or morning, wherever you all are. But thanks to those of you that have joined this live, and for those of you that are watching this on the replay on YouTube. I guess to start off, I wanted to explain a little bit what this is going to be about. And if you're here, you probably realize that this is a tutorial on Celestian's Audio Overseer extension for Fantasy Grounds. So Audio Overseer, if you're not incredibly familiar with it, is an audio management tool utilized with Fantasy Grounds, and it works with Syrinscape, but also with sounds that you own and that you have downloaded on your computer. And that's especially appealing to me, given I think I'm up to 10,000 plus sounds. So having something that also will be able to be utilized with my current sounds was pretty important and interesting for me. Now, I've followed Celestian for some time as he has worked on the AD&D rule set that can be used for both 1E and 2E. And so I bought all the books quite a while back when he first created the rule set. But honestly, I just didn't have a ton of time to dig into it. And so that's what I'm doing now. This will be a very detailed tutorial, so for those watching on YouTube, I am going to index this so that you can jump to the areas that are most important to you, because again, it will be a lengthy video. And the main reason I created this is as I started using the extension, I just found myself, as much as Celestian's done a great job with his tutorials, I ran into a lot of issues that I just didn't want people to recreate. And most of it was just user error. But if I can help you avoid some of the errors and missteps that I had, I thought, why not do a video and help people? So before we jump into it, as a reminder, so although I'll be going through this with the 2E rule set, this should work on most any core RPG rule set. So even though we're going to be, again, focused on 2E, anything that's built off of core RPG, this extension should work with it. And again, if you haven't checked out his Celestian's work on the 2E rule set, I highly recommend buying the PHB Dungeon Master Guide and Monster Manual, which I own all of them. Okay, so let's get in. I'm going to start from the very beginning and show you how to download the extension and the module. So let's get out of this home screen. This was just a little bit easier on the eyes, and jump into the Fantasy Grounds forums. So again, I'll post a link in the video to show you how to get to this page. But this is Celestian's forum post that started, gosh, I think, yeah, you can see it up here, over a year and a half ago. So he has a lot of great information here and links to his tutorial videos. So I would highly encourage you to go through this if you haven't already. And he has some of the features, what it does do, what it doesn't do. So please take some time and read through it. And he also has some information and screenshots that show a little more detail. And he even talks about, and I'll go through some of these issues, but what do you do if you're still having issues after you've downloaded the application? So you can see right here at the very bottom of this first post, you can click to get the extension from the Forge. And also, if you want to have some preloaded sound triggers and some of the sound links that come free with Syrinscape, you can actually download a module here that he has created as well. Now, when you click on the Forge link, you're going to go into the Forge, and I own it, of course, so it's going to show owned up here. If you don't own it, I'll show you what another one would look like. It's going to look something like this. I just pulled up a random other inventory item in the Forge, but you'd have to click on Get. And once you do that, it should automatically update. Like if you look at my inventory, you can see I have Audio Overseer here, Audio Management, and I have all of the updates are going to automatically update unless I click this and turn it off. So I would not recommend that, but if for some reason you don't want the auto updates, you can click there. One really important thing, and the very first thing that I ran into, is I had initially, about a year ago when Celestian first created this extension and the module, it was before the Forge was in place. So I actually had the initial version of the extension and the module on my computer, and I hadn't really thought about that, to be honest. So it's really important, if you've already downloaded the extension or module before the Forge was created, delete them. I ran into a ton of issues, and just make sure that you delete them. And when you launch Fantasy Grounds, if you look at the top left, you'll see the little file folder. You can click on that, and you can click on, it'll go right into your Fantasy Grounds folder. You can click on extensions or double click, and you can search here and see if you have the extension. Now, you might notice that you don't see this. You don't see the Audio Overseer extension, and that's because it downloads to a place called the Vault. So now once you've downloaded it, and I'm not sure how it'll exactly show up here, but I do know that it shows up in the Vault. So once you've deleted it out of extension and modules, then you can go ahead and upload and get things started. So let's see, delete the modules. Okay, so we're gonna jump in and show you exactly how this works. Hey, JD Ramza, thanks for coming by. So I'm gonna go to the launch screen. Before I do this, just because this will be out on YouTube, I'm going to do this real quick. So when you load the campaign or create a new campaign, and I would suggest creating a new one, I'm creating a new campaign that just says Audio Overseer stream. This is on my local area network, but as many of you know, you can do the cloud or you can do a LAN if you want. Extensions. So make sure that you should see under Core RPG Audio Overseer. So make sure before you launch that that's selected. And for me, I don't have, the only other thing I selected just because it's easier on my eyes is I have a Droid Serif font extension that I created using FGU. Actually, I plagiarized it based on work that Trenlo and I think Metacurie have done. But I have that loaded, but that's it. I didn't want anything else loaded to confuse the issue. So get that loaded and go ahead and fire up. Now I can turn off the IP links. And I am following an outline, but I tried to do this in a form, in a structure that would make most sense. But if you all do have questions in chat, I will try to pay attention. And if we need to go through some specific questions, or I might just say, hey, we're going to get to that later on just for the flow of the video on YouTube. But I'll definitely try to answer some questions if we can. All right. So we are going to close this. And for now, I'm going to close the campaign setup just so we have a nice new clean screen. You can see over here that I have the second edition rule set loaded. And this is based on the Core RPG, and I have the Audio Overseer, and the only other extension I have loaded is that Droid Serif font extension. Okay. So the things I want to show you to begin with is, like, right now I do have the monstrous manual and the player's handbook loaded, but I don't have anything else loaded. Thanks for the follow, Spinninzen. Don't know if I have that right, but that's all I have loaded right now. So if you click on menu and modules, if you did load Celestian's module, you can get to the module activation screen. And if you click on load filter, so right now I might show you during this tutorial as we get some characters and battle maps, I do that to show you how the triggers work, but I only have these two modules loaded. But you can see here's his Audio Overseer Syrinscape free links. So you can click on that to load it. And then now that will show up in your load screen. What we're going to go into next is the options in FG. So if you click on menu and options, okay, you'll notice that, so because I have the Audio Overseer loaded already, it automatically enables it. The Audio Overseer source is defaults to source 1. What's really important about this is my tutorial is really going to be focused on the fantasy player, so meaning the offline player. But if you're using the online player, you would want to toggle this to source 2. Okay, just click on it to toggle it to source 2, but I'm going to keep it source 1 because I'm using, again, just the fantasy player, the fantasy genre. Now, when you scroll down here, some of the important things to make sure that that are on is GM roles. So if you want everything in chat, whether it's a trigger from a player or a trigger from a GM, as we set up triggers, which basically allows you to play an automated sound based on what flows through chat. So if I type a message like fireball, and this won't trigger now, but if something does flow through chat and you want it to trigger, you want to make sure that for GM roles that those are shown as on. If you show them as off, anything the players do, anything that they do from their characters and shows up in chat, you can build a trigger off of it and it'll play. But if you don't have the GM roles toggled on, anything you do as a GM will not trigger a sound. So I'm going to turn that on. And I think that's all you have to have on. I'll come back to this later if there's something else we need. But yeah, I think that's it. I think those are the main things. Okay, so when you first come here and you click on records, you'll see a new audio section. So if you have the extension loaded, if you don't see that, then you'll need to go back to the launch screen and perhaps you forgot to load the extension. But if you click on audio, so here you're gonna see the audio, and right now the only triggers, I don't think I loaded anything else, but you see these audio Oversser Syrinscape free links. If you don't have the module open, you won't see these, but Celestian has preloaded everything that comes, all the sounds that come in the free sound packs for Syrinscape. So even if you don't own anything else, or if you don't have the Super Siren subscription, then you won't see anything. But at least if you have the module loaded, sorry, let me restate that. Even if you don't have the audio Oversser, the Super Siren subscription or purchase any packs, these are free. So as long as you have a Syrinscape login subscription, even free, you'll be able to load these in the module. Let's see, we have a question. Will it work for other systems like Starfinder? So Svenster, anything built off of Core RPG, this should work with. I don't remember, I want to say that Starfinder is, but I'd have to look to confirm. But if it's built off of Core RPG, yes, like I know this should work for, I believe, Pathfinder 2e, so I would assume Starfinder would work as well. So when you first come in here, again, so you won't see anything other than these triggers, or other than those audio files. If you click triggers, because I loaded Celestian's module, you're going to see some triggers already loaded. Okay, but what I want to do is I want to really show you everything from scratch. I just wanted to show you that some of these are preloaded, but I'm going to go back to the option or the modules, and I'm going to actually unload, because I want to do this all from scratch, and I'm going to unload that module. So what I want to show you now is how to load, didn't mean to click on that, but how to load your files directly from Syrinscape. Okay, so when you go to Records Audio, there's a little arrow here that says Text Import to Audio. So again, now that I closed that link, I don't think I'll see any, I won't see any other files now. So I have no audio files. But if I go to this Text Import to Audio, you'll see it's a little hard to read, but this is text that will be imported from your clipboard. So most often you're going to import this directly from Syrinscape. So what you'll want to do is I'm going to click over. I already have these links up to make this video go a little bit quicker, but I'm going to close the Forge since we shouldn't need this anymore. So if you go to Syrinscape, the main page, and if you go to Syrinscape Online, and I realize I told you I'm using the Syrinscape player, but in order to get the links, which are CSV links, you go to this master interface, Soundset Creator. So it's going to pull up Syrinscape Online, and I'm a Super Siren, say that 10 times fast, subscriber. So you're going to see a lot in here. But what I'm looking for is these three little lines up at the top. and download remote control links CSV. So you're gonna go here, you're gonna click on that, and it's gonna download the file. Now, one thing that is extremely important that I was a complete idiot about is I'm a big Excel user, so I immediately opened this up in Excel because I wanted to manipulate it, I wanted to do things with it. So, I decided, hey, I'll open it up in Excel. However, if you go back to this import audio records section, you can see how Celestian says right here, 1 sound per line with each formatted as follows. And there's a reason he has quotes on each of these, is that's exactly how they have to be in order to be imported properly. So as you probably know, if you open this in Excel, it's going to immediately delete all of those quotes. And I started messing around with building concatenate functions, all these stupid things that I didn't have to do. So what you want to do is open the downloaded file in something like Notepad++. Okay, so I'm going to use, that's what I use. So I've cleaned out, usually I have like 1 million files in here. I cleaned out all my files and I've opened Notepad++, and let's just open the file that we just downloaded. And it should be today at 12:12. Yep, that's it. So let's open that file. Okay, whole wall of text, but you can see that everything has a quote in front of it, right? So everything is already pre-built to be uploaded into Syrinscape. So if you do it this way and open it directly, you won't have the issue I had, and you'll save yourself, embarrassingly for me, it was a few hours of work. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. But that's what I was doing wrong. So keep in mind that when you do pull this down, it's going to pull in all of the different sound files that you have access to or you own. So for me, I do have the Super Siren, so it's pulling in everything. And what I mean by that is you may or may not know, there are 3 different players for Syrinscape. There's the fantasy player, there's the sci-fi player, and there's the board game player. So keep in mind that in Fantasy Grounds, because we're using the fantasy player, if you tried to use a sci-fi player or a sound from the sci-fi packs, it won't work. So what I chose to do, and I think I want to show you this so you know how to do it as well. And again, this is unique to Notepad++. But what I would do is personally find things that you don't want to import. So I did a Control F here so I can find, and then I'm going to go to mark, hopefully you can see this, and bookmark each line. And this way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for now, let's start for sci-fi. I think it's sci-fi. And let's say, I believe it's mark all. All right, I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I'm doing this right because I had to Google this to find this out. Search mode should be set to normal. Find the string, and then close this dialog box and go back up to the top of Notepad. And from the search menu, bookmark. And if you want to delete all of those just so you don't have them in your search results here, you can remove bookmark lines. I'm going to copy just to make sure I did this right. And I'm going to create a new, I think it's thinking. Yeah, let me give it a second because that was probably a lot of data. Hopefully it doesn't crash my system, but just takes a minute. Okay, so I'm going to say file, new, and then hopefully paste. Okay. So you can see now I'm in this new subset, everything that has a sci-fi over here. So everything here is in the sci-fi pack. So I do want to delete that. So now that I know that it worked, I don't need to keep that. I'm going to go back to my Control F. I'm going to make sure I do it right again. So I'm going to go to mark, say sci-fi, mark all. And it said, you can see 27,000 matches for sci-fi. So I'm going to close this, and it doesn't really show in here yet. That's what got me a little nervous. But then I'm going to go search, bookmark, remove bookmarked lines. So hopefully Now, if I do a search, Control F in here for sci-fi, and mark, let's just mark all. So there's 0 matches. So the other one I'm going to do is board. I think it's board game. And there's 1,995. So I'm going to do the same thing. Mark all, close, and I'll go up to search, bookmark, remove bookmarked lines. Okay, so that's not that many, but it just now, at least the rule set you have, you know when you're searching for sounds and you want to pull them into Fantasy Grounds, you're starting with at least a subset of files that will actually work. So that I would recommend doing that first. The reason for that, you may be wondering, why am I not importing everything? Before I start my import, actually, it doesn't say it in here, but this will only import 100 lines at a time. So if you looked at my Notepad++ file, I think I have 40,000 lines. So do not try to import everything at once. And what I usually check, and I think I accidentally had this checked already, there's a little toggle over here that says import only new sound records when checked. You might want to check that unless you do want to go in and replace files that you've already pulled in to Syrinscape. But I'm going to start, just to make this easier, I only want to pull in a few different sound sets. So let's do that. I'm going to search again, and I'm going to mark. So we're going to look for, I think it's, I'm going to start with Kyra, and mark all. There's 112. So I think that should be the cleric spells, basically. So I'm going to do a few of these, so bear with me, since I'm doing this in real time and I wanted to show you. So I'm going to copy all bookmarked lines, and that should be from Kyra. Actually, let's close first. I don't know if I need to close. Close it, search, bookmark, copy bookmarked lines. And now, because this is taking, if you read this again, text will be imported from your clipboard. Because I copied that, I should be able to just click import from clipboard. Now, it said import complete. If there was 100, let's look at that. I thought there were more than 100, so it wouldn't do it, but let's look at our audio files. Okay, it looks like it did. So maybe there were. So if you can see here, we had nothing here before, and now we've got all these sounds, right? So you can see here, it automatically imports with the name. So this is a Heal Light right out of Syrinscape. And it imports, I'm going to open this real quick. Well, yeah, okay, it doesn't show anything more, I guess. Let's try to open that Heal again, close it. So it opens a play link, a stop link, just in case this was a mood that you want to make sure you have the ability to stop. And it also imports the category, General Fantasy, the pack. So I had clicked on Kyra, so it's the Cleric Spells Kyra pack. What type is it? This is an element and a one-shot, which will be important because a lot of your triggers you'll probably want to just be one-shots. Now you will see that even though I'm only using the Syrinscape player, again, remember what I said at the beginning, when you toggled your source in the options menu of Fantasy Grounds, source 1 will be your play, stop 1 will be your stop, and these both are toggled off of the Syrinscape Fantasy player. The source 2 will be toggled to the Syrinscape online player if you want to do that. Now, hopefully, if this imported right, if I click on this Heal Light, it should play, and you should be hearing that. Awesome. I'm going to clear this because it bothers me when my chat gets full. So we imported those. So let's import a few more real quick. And I'm going to look for Ezrin the Wizard, because I know there's some sounds I want to have in there. Let's mark all. I'm going to do this a little bit faster since you guys saw how I did that now. So bookmark. Copy bookmarked lines, go back to Fantasy Grounds, audio, I have to go back to the record. Oh, sorry, right here. Import, and then import from clipboard. And it's gonna take a few minutes. Okay, so you can see all those imported, and that's great. And I'm gonna do Valeros. I want to make sure I get some fighter sounds. So let's do, let's mark. I know Valeros is one of the packs that I want. And again, you can look in Syrinscape. You can find the packs you want and do this whatever way you want. There's 54 matches there. Let's go copy bookmarked. Close, or maybe I close that and then bookmark. Copy bookmarked. Back to Syrinscape. Upload. Import. Okay, great. Now I'm going to look. I want to see if I have my sword. I know there's some crit slash. I want to say there's like a clash that I'll want later. Let's see if I can find it. Because that's kind of what I've used for some of my sounds already. So even though I haven't imported them, I'm going to say sword. I think it's clash. Yeah, there's 6 of those. So let's close that. Let's go search, bookmark. And again, you can do this in whatever order you want. I'm just, I want to make sure that I get some of the sounds in that I know I want to use. And I think, let's see if I have my crossbow in here already, I think. You create a category and import directly in there. I don't think so. It's a good question that we might have to follow up with Celestian on. I think it just pulls it exact. I guess what you could do potentially, let me think about that, is, so the question is, can you create a category in groups and go into that new group and import? I think what you would have to do, since the categories are already selected, I suppose and I don't know that I want to try it right now, but I think you could probably create a category and then in your folder here, or sorry, in the file you downloaded, the CSV, you'd probably have to update, if this Dungeons and Dragons was the category, you'd probably have to find and replace whatever you wanted to put in there and make that Kyra and then import it, because it's just literally taking it out of your CSV file. So as long as you update it in your CSV file, it should work. I hope that made sense, but I think it could work. Let me see if I have my crossbow in here. I think I do. Okay, I think I have the things I need. Is there a bow in here? Okay, great. Okay, so again, so you can always keep that file saved on Notepad++ and go back to it and load sounds as you want them. So that's that. Upload. So I think we had that. Okay, so let's get into creating triggers. So we're going to create a trigger. I'm actually going to start, because so much of this will focus on Syrinscape, I'm actually going to start here and show you how to do a trigger not using Syrinscape. So believe it or not, we're going to start, and I'll move this to another screen so it doesn't bug you. And we are going to create, if I did it, maybe I didn't. Oh, that's okay. I'll create it myself. It's easy enough. But we're going to create one for like an acid splash or acid bomb. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is import the sound that we want. So I'm using a program. You don't have to use any program. You can just do it right out of Windows Explorer. But I'm going to use a program called Sample Librarian. What this does really quickly is it sits on top of Windows Explorer. I think it's about $30. I bought it years ago, but it pulls all of my sounds, and it's a way for me to very quickly search for sounds, find the sound. And I have, like I said, I don't know how many, 10,000, 30,000 sounds. So what I'm going to do is I like this because it shows me, here's a magic acid arrow, and it shows me what's the duration. This is 4.6 seconds. So that's going to be good for a one shot. I can click on it. Should be able to click on it. Yep. Okay. So I'll say, you know what, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to right click on this and I will show in Windows Explorer. Or actually, you know what, I'm just going to do it from here. I'm going to see if I can do it from right here. Properties. So what I want to do, and you can see this is where it's located. My C drive, sound files, RPG sounds, effects, Marshall. So I think I can literally in this program just right click And I think I can copy the sample path right here. So again, you could do this out of Windows Explorer, but I copied the sample path. And now what I want to do is I'm going to create an audio file. And what we'll need to do is think about, in Syrinscape, it's populating all of this for us, and I'm going to call this like acid arrow. Because I want this to be source one, because I'm using the fantasy player, or I shouldn't say that. Gosh, I'm confusing you guys. Source one will be what it pulls from, because that's what I set in the option menu. So I'm going to right click, or actually just copy and paste, Control V, and you have to make sure in front of this you put the string file. Oh gosh, I hope I get this right. Colon ///. Think I have that right. So it's file colon and / 3 times. And let's see if I did that right. And I might have to work with you guys together if I didn't. Let's click this. Okay. Did you hear that? It wasn't super loud, but hopefully you all heard that. But I did see that it worked. Now, what it did, so again, any sounds you pull in, you're going to have to put the path, but then put file colon / / / 3. So great. Thanks, Spinnins in. So in this case, I'm not sure how to do a stop, honestly. Maybe there's an easy way, but I don't really care. It's a one shot. So, oh, great, Ramtrap. I'm glad that worked. Awesome. Good to hear. So now you can see it in here. And it's the one thing you'll have to do, like this is a WAV file. So I want to show you quickly. Let me pull up that sound, because it's important that you're going to have to set, jumping around too much, too many files open, but you're going to want to set the default playback device for your sound files on your hard drive. So this is a WAV file. If it was an MP3 file, you're going to want to do it there. But if you go to Windows Explorer, I want to show this in Windows Explorer. I'll pull that over. So now for this magic acid arrow WAV file, I'm going to right click, and you don't want to go straight to what you're going to open it. So when you open with, you don't want to go straight to whatever program you want. You want to go choose another app, and then it's going to pop up. And in my case, I used Windows Media Player. Use whatever you want, but the important thing is click on always use this app to open files, and then hit OK. Because the one thing that's a little bit of a pain is whenever you open it, it's going to open that program. So for me, Windows, what I ended up doing is I'm dragging, when it opens, I'm dragging this to a smaller screen, to my laptop screen. So this is opening and playing every time, but it's off screen, so you and the players wouldn't see it. So I have it on my second monitor, my smaller monitor. So that's as simple as it is. So now you have the audio file, and if you wanted to, you could say something like category personal audio. And I think that'll work. I might have to probably create it. Let's do that real quickly. Let's create a group one. Bear with me. Let's update this to say personal audio. So now I've got a category, and that should, now it says personal audio. So hopefully if I lock this and click on personal audio, there's my acid arrow. So if you want to know and categorize them, and I think this is kind of what Ramtrap did, you can do it that way. All right, so let's create our first trigger, and then we'll do this with Syrinscape, but let's create just an acid arrow trigger. And this one I'm going to have be super simple. I'm going to have it trigger, so the match is just going to be one match. So right in here, I'm going to say acid arrow. So anytime acid arrow appears in chat, so again, this might not be what you want, but for now, I just want to show this to you. Anytime you type in acid arrow, it'll trigger. So all you need to do is create this, find your trigger in here, drag and drop it right where the sound record is. And then if you lock it, and if we did that right, and if I type in acid arrow, there you go. It's going to pull up and play. So there are other things you can do, and maybe when we get into Syrinscape, I'll show you, like, you can add random sounds and do other things, but that's as simple as that. You can always preview it by clicking on it in here, but that's as simple as it is to create a trigger for acid arrow. Now I have a question. Spencer, for streamers, do we have to create a special output for the sounds? Yes. So Spencer, that's a great question. As most of you know, Fantasy Grounds doesn't have its own ability to send sounds locally. So you'll either have to send the sounds out through Discord, through something like Clean Feed. There's so many different ways to do it, but yes, unfortunately, either you're going to have to do Syrinscape Online for those that want to use that, or I can send a link, or if you want, I can, maybe at the end of the tutorial here, I can drop a link to all my YouTube tutorials where I explain how do you send sounds out. So, and you're going to have to do that for players too, Svenster. So the players won't hear it locally unless you either have Syrinscape Online and everyone has that downloaded, or if you send it and people are connected in Discord and you send the sounds through Discord, or a whole host of other options of sending sound. So that's a great question. Okay, let me pull back up my audio record and let's do Syrinscape triggers now. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up a couple triggers that I created and we'll just recreate those. Audio Oversser, so we're gonna start with like a generic cast trigger. So one thing that's really important is if you import your sound triggers. So if you import, or if you use the module that came with that Celestian created, you've got to be careful not to modify a trigger that is in an imported module. What I mean by that is try to create them in a module like I'm doing in a fresh campaign, and then you can certainly export those files. If you want to export those triggers, I'll try to remember, or somebody remind me at the end, show you how to export some of these triggers, but don't update a trigger that's imported from an existing module. The only way I guess my brain gets wrapped around that is if you're working with Excel, which I work with a lot, and if you have links to other files that you're pulling into a current worksheet, and if you're trying to do something in there and the links break, it seems like that's basically the best way for me to describe it, is you want to work with the links and create them in an existing campaign and not modify another trigger, or it'll basically break the link. I hope that makes sense. So let's start, and we're going to do a generic cast. Okay, so let's go to triggers, and we're going to add the plus sign to create a new trigger. And I'm going to say just cast spell generic. So I want this to be, triggered. If I haven't loaded a sound for my players and I just want a unique or a sound to play no matter what spell it is, and I want something to play, then I'm going to just have it trigger off of cast. So what I want this to trigger off of is any time it shows cast. And let's just pull up the character real quick. And this might pull up a map too, because I have them on a map. But yeah, let's close the map. So I just have a wizard, a first level wizard pulled up. Get rid of some of this to clean this up. Let's go to his actions tab. I guess it always wants to pull up the map because it's on the map. And I'm going to go to powers. So let's just cast, alarm. So I'll just hit the cast button just to show you. So what does it look like? What do we need to show in chat? So if you can see this, it might be a little small for you. There's a bracket and then capital cast and then another bracket. So what we have to be careful of when we're creating our match and what we want to trigger on is it's based on Lua pattern matching, as I understand it. So if you left the bracket in, and I'm not a Lua expert by any means, but Celestian does have a link in his videos to Lua pattern matching. But we have to basically get Fantasy Grounds to look at that bracket as if it's just a normal character. Otherwise, it has a special function within Lua. So to do that, you do a percentage sign before whatever character that you're basically trying to get Fantasy Grounds to recognize as just a regular character. So percentage, bracket, uppercase, cast, and then again, there's another bracket. So I'm going to do percentage again, and then bracket. So in this case, any spell I'm triggering would trigger off of this cast. So let's find something. Let me see what I did in my other one. Bear with me. I think I just did, 0 level spell. So we'll open our audio records and we'll find, I'll search under all. We'll just drag in a 0 level spell. So this is Ezran Wizard. Let's play it. I think it's pretty short. Uh-oh. I didn't hear that. Did you guys? Let's try it again. Uh-oh. Why would that not be triggering? Let's try to open this. Real-time troubleshooting. Let's try another one. Kyra. Does that play? That played. I've noticed, and it's something I might have to follow up on. I've noticed on occasion, I know there's a Pathfinder, there's a Wizard Ezran spell, there's D&D Wizard spells. I feel like sometimes it gets confused, but that is a good check, is always click on this link. And if you don't hear it, and I just clicked on it, I don't hear it, you might want to investigate it further. So I know this one works. So let's drag that one in to the sound file there. So in this case, again, if I lock this now, the delay would be if for some reason you want it to be delayed, you can, and you can actually drag within this box here up to 2, and you can see it if you hover over sounds plays. You can drag up to 2 sounds. So you could put one in and then maybe delay it for 0.3 seconds or something and play a second one if you want. Only 2. Down here, you could have a whole host of random sounds. But for the sound play, that's going to play no matter what, you can only have up to 2. So you can call it a type. Maybe I'll just say spells and then close it. And if we've done this right, if we go back to our friend Ezran, and I know it's going to pull, I forgot I hotkeyed it. So if you go down to our friend Ezran and you click on cast, oh, that's disappointing. It did not play. So what did we do wrong? We've got, oh, I think I see it right now. I think I fat fingered and put a curly bracket. I must have had caps lock on. So let's do an actual bracket. That looks right now. Let's try it again. Let's click on cast. There we go. So really important to make sure that you're checking. So anytime he casts anything, so that was alarm, but if you want to go to find familiar, click cast. So, and you might not want to do this. This is just how I want to set it up so that if I haven't gotten around to setting up a spell, at least my players hear some generic casting spell. So that works, which is awesome. And let's see, let's do a melee attack. Okay, so this time we're going to do a combat. Close this for a second. We'll go to triggers. I'll do this a little bit quicker now that you've seen this. So we're going to call this melee attack hit. So in this case, I'm going to actually do 2 triggers. So I want this, and I'll show you why I'm doing this. So let's pull up our trusty wizard again. And this time we're going to go to weapons. And we're just going to use this quarterstaff. Okay, so I'll double click on an attack with this quarterstaff. Sorry, that keeps popping up because he's on there. And you can see over here in chat, attack M quarterstaff. So obviously I could set this up a whole host of different ways. I could trigger off of just attack. I could trigger off of the attack and the quarterstaff, or I could trigger off of the attack and melee. Or if let's pull back up. I want to do it based on whether or not this hits the monster. So let's pull up our trusty wizard, and it's okay if the map shows up this time because I want to, let's pull up the map here. Oh. So I've got him on already. And so what I want to do now is I'm going to target him, pull up the combat tracker. And so I show him as targeted. All right. And let's roll the quarterstaff. 2. So that says attack hit. Now, I actually did this very intentionally. If you right click on the map and minimize it. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Svenster. I'll do that after I'm done here. So I wanted to show this to you, and this is one thing. When you roll from a character sheet, you can notice that all these other things are nice and large from my droid serif font, but some of the things do not scale up. So sorry if this is small. Hopefully you can see it. But you can see whenever you see this eyeball with a slash through it, remember what I said to begin with, is we did have the option on to show all GM rolls. However, I wanted to show you what happens if in the combat tracker, if you have not shown the spider, you can see it's grayed out. So as a GM or a DM, you can see it, but the player can't. When that eyeball rolls, your player is not seeing this, so it will not trigger a sound. So if you do show him, now the player can see the spider. And if we roll that again, you now see that it does not have the eyeball and the slash through it. This will go through chat, and you can build a trigger off of this. So let me minimize this to his point. Thank you. We'll minimize, and I'll put this up here for now. So what I want to do is I want this to be an attack hit. So I don't want to just, sometimes I used to have triggers that were no matter what, it's just when you swing, you hear it, but I want it to be based on the hit. So I can see here in the string, there's an attack, and there is, this one was a miss, but if I roll to hit, let's do this one more time. So one reason I manually hotkeyed these down here, I'm going to do a manual entry. So I'm going to do a quarterstaff, attack roll, and we'll just do like an 18 because I know that'll hit. So that's a hit. So now again, you can see attack, melee, and you can see hit. So how are we going to build that trigger? What I'm going to do is I'm going to first start with %sign to escape out my bracket. I want hit, all uppercase. And I'm going to do percentage again, bracket again. So that's on one trigger. My next trigger is going to say, hey, I want this to be melee. You know, I want something else for a ranged hit. So let's do it for melee. So I'm going to do a percentage because I'm going to do a parentheses, and that is a known Lua trigger, Lua special character. M is not, so you don't have to have a percentage in front of it, but then percent again, and then parentheses. So now, so these two these can be on separate lines here, but keep in mind, it's going to look, this is all one line. If it was on 2 lines, and the reason I say it's all on one line is because it only wraps around because my combat or my chat is just small. So, but it is all like wrapping to one line. If this actually literally was 2 separate lines, you couldn't do this. You have to have a trigger on one line. But so here's a hit and an M, and let's do sword clash. So I'm going to close him for a second. I'm going to look up sword clash. And let's make sure I grab one. I don't want the 8-bit bugbear. I know what that sounds like. It's a little weird. Maybe that is the one. Yeah, let's do the general fantasy player. Let's play it to make sure it's playing okay. Yep, I hear it. So let's drag this down under sounds. And that's all I want. So let's close it up. And I'm just going to have that one trigger. So let's get back to our map is fine. And let's get back to our wizard. pull them up. And let's roll the quarterstaff, and I'll make sure it hits this time. We'll roll an 18. Sounds good. And it immediately played. So that's a way to do 2 triggers. Now, if you wanted, let's say, and I think this will work, but let's try it in real time. If you wanted this always to be random, okay, so let's go back to the sword clash. Let's drag it into random. And let's go into, see if this is any different. Let's do a short sword crit, because that should sound much different. Okay, so that sounds different. So let's drag that down here. And let's do, I don't know, giant sword clash. Maybe that's different too. Okay, that's not what I would want, but it's very different and unique. So I've now dragged. Oh, let's not do that, because that is not a one shot. Let me stop that. I should have looked at that. So that is not a one shot. Very important to look for a one shot. And I could see if I would have read this, it's an element and a sound effect, not a one shot. So I think what I want to do is change this and only look for one shots. Let's see. So I did a short sword crit. How about a long sword hit? Is that different? Yeah, that sounds different too. Okay, so I've got 3 different ones now. So let's leave this up and let's go ahead and do a attack. And we'll do an 18. Okay, so that one had a little bit of guts and glory behind it. So let's do it again. We'll just do an 18 again. Don't know if that was different, but it should be. So let's just, it's going to be random every time. So try it again. That was definitely different, right? See if we can get one more. See if we can get them all in here. I think those were, but you get the idea. Anything you want in there, and you can make them all random. You don't have to have anything in here. So pretty cool. All right. Let's see what else I want to show for Syrinscape. Triggers. That was that one. I have some others. Let's do do I have one? Yeah, let's do a generic one. We'll take a quick break from the players, and let's say you want to create a trigger based on kind of the round in the combat tracker. So you kind of want a way to notify your players if this if the combat tracker moves forward around. Let me just do this. I'm going to drag this down because I know I'm going to want it later. You can always hotkey that. That's a cool little trick. /clear and then put it down the hotkey bar, and you can always clear your chat much easier. All right, so let's do a trigger, and let's do a add trigger, and I'm going to say next round alert. And thanks Celestian. He's the one that did this. I've seen this done before, and we'll just say this is like a miscellaneous. All right. So now this one, I'm following him. So I think this is a little unique to Lua. So I can't really explain exactly why he did it this way. And I don't know that you necessarily have to, but let's do this. So let's move forward around here. So let's just say we're starting a new round. So that moved to 2. So that moved to bracket round 2. So the way he set it up, and I understand most of this, percentage bracket, you guys know we got to basically ignore the special character and have it see it as a bracket, round. And then what he did is percentage D plus. So I think no matter what round it is, I think it's basically saying, hey, whatever round it gets advanced, still play this sound. So then we're going to do percentage and bracket. And so anytime it advances, it should play this sound. He had like a ship's bell played. I decided to do a dramatic, hopefully it's in here. Oh, I want a dramatic note. Shoot, I must not have drug it in. Hey, let's just do it real quick because I want to get that one in. Let's look at our file here. Search, mark, dramatic. About dramatic note. mark all at 32. Close it. We'll go to search. And this just reminds you how easy it is to, and then copy bookmark lines. We'll go back to our audio file, upload, import, and it should show over here once it's all imported. All right, now let's clear that again. So now let's look for dramatic note, dramatic. All right, so now it's there. So I'll move this up. We'll look for, doesn't really matter which one as long as I have it loaded. Now, make sure you have these sound packs loaded in your Fantasy Player, or installed, I should say. I may not have that one installed. So again, I'll start maybe up at the top. These are all water deep. The dramatic note, that's the one I did. I think I have this one loaded. Yeah. So again, let's drag this one down to sounds. Let's lock it. And let's make sure this plays. So again, let's just hover over the combat tracker and let's hit next round. So whether it's round 3, 4, or 5, it's just going to play that. Just a little bit of an audio clue for your players to know that, oh yeah, I need to roll initiative. It's the next round. So so you all understand what I meant by loaded, and you probably do, but I'm going to drag over Syrinscape for a minute. So again, if you look here, these are all untitled. I'd have to look at what these all are, but if you see this where it's a little bit more orange, you can see that this is loaded. I have loaded. These are not loaded. I own them, but they're not installed. So again, make sure that whatever triggers, even though you're pulling over all of your triggers that you have and you own from Syrinscape, if you don't have them loaded and installed, they won't trigger. So just another thing to keep in mind. All right, so that's that kind of trigger. Let's do one for spell save. All right, so let me pull up my saves. And these are just to give you ideas. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it, of course. You can do your own. But let's do a trigger. I'm going to move this up here out of the way. And we'll do another trigger. Plus. And this one, we're going to say save failure. So you can get as general or as specific as you want, right? So I'm going to have 2 lines for this one. And I'll show you why, so why don't I do that? Pull up the wizard. And the wizard is going to use his fireball on a spider. What better spell to use on a spider, right? So if he casts, actually in that case, it's just going to cast, so you hear that. But if you click on the save for the spider, why is that? Let's pull this up. Interesting. Do I have him targeted twice? Yeah, I do. Let's do this. I'm going to clear target. Try that again. In this case, I'm going to say he has initiative. Going to target the spider. And let's see if that still has the same double. I don't know. Or maybe it's just, it's my manual dice entries. That's why. So let's go down here. And we'll make it be an 8. Okay, so you can see the language down here that the target failed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set up, so if you wanted to set one up for the spider, and that's what I initially planned on doing, but let's show first, let's do one for the wizard. So if the wizard is going to save, here are all his saves. So let's just do a paralyzation save. Okay, and I'm doing manual rolls just to show you how this works. So failure. So I'm glad I showed you that, even though I didn't initially intend to show it that way, is because you can see that for a monster, the save does look different. And I haven't set one up for the monsters yet, so maybe we'll do that quickly. But in this case, target failed. You can see Celestian's 2E rule set shows a little X there. And then for his save versus paralyzation, the wizard, it just shows as a save and failure. So what we're going to do is set up for whenever the wizard makes a save is I'm going to say save, because that's how it is in the combat or in the chat. And then I'm going to do percent bracket failure, all caps, percentage again, and then bracket. If I do it right and don't fat finger it, and bracket. So this should, anytime he fails, and I'll just say it's part of spell category. Anytime he saves and he fails, it should play this note. Let's see if I have an ah. If I don't, I'll just play a dramatic note. Yeah, I don't. Let's just, so I don't have to re-import, we're just going to say our dramatic note again. And let's get the right one. One of these, there we go. I think that's the one I found. Yep. So it's not the sound I would want, but I'm just to prove a point to you. Oh, I better make sure that's unlocked. And again, you could do, if you wanted a bunch of random sounds to play, you could do that. So now let's lock this. Let's roll a save for the wizard against, let's do breath. Let's just say, oh, you know what? Better. I know this is stupid, but poison. Let's just say you got poisoned by the spider. 14, or no, what is his, poison is 14, so let's say he does a 12. So he failed, and she failed. I keep saying he. This is I guess Arizima Helder is a female. So that played, and that was awesome. That was perfect. So you could do the same thing on a success. No reason to show that because it would be the same thing. But again, if you want to have something that said, hey, I want it to be based on different things. Actually, in this case, interestingly, yeah, so you see how, I'm not sure how I'd want to do that because this is a save versus poison, and I don't think that would be on the same line. So I think in this case, save and failure on the same line. I don't think you could do this specific to poison because this is on a separate line than this. So I think the way I'm doing it, you could do success failure. You could just do save if you just want to say, hey, anytime somebody tries a save. So let's do one quickly and try to do it for the spider because I kind of showed that to begin with. I haven't done this yet. So I don't know. Let's just see. We'll just say monster save failure. And actually, let's just say huzzah. I do want to have this one in here. So let's find it. Huzzah. Huzzah. And we'll say mark all, 2 matches, close it, and bookmark. Copy bookmark lines. Don't cut because you don't want to cut them. And then we'll go back and upload, import from clipboard, or my huzzahs. Okay, so what do I want it to show? I'm going to look back at the spider. So let's trigger a failure from the spider on the spell save. So save, I'll just give him a 10. Poor spider failed. So let me read that now. So it shows save and then target dash failed. So let's do save. And then let's have the next line be percentage and then bracket target. I don't know if a dash is a special character, so let's try it without. And I know that the bracket is, so we'll just say save target failed. And we'll drag and drop. In this case, I don't know, I'll do a huzzah because in my mind, you know, the monster failed, you're happy as a player. All right, so let's drag the huzzah in here. And let's close it and let's trigger the save and a failure. So we'll do an 8. So he fails. Okay, it didn't play. Let me make sure everything looks good. I wonder if that's because target, maybe I need to put a percentage in front of the dash. Not positive. I'm doing this one a little bit real time. I haven't tried it. So and we'll say NPC effects or something here. All right, so let's try that again. I hope it works because I'm not sure why it wouldn't. We'll do an 8. That was it. So a dash apparently is another special character. So All right. So that's pretty cool. So you can do failure, you can do success, whatever. And again, remember, only if your GM roles are on. If they're off, you won't be able to trigger it when you load it. All right. That's, I guess it's been about an hour. I'll spend just a couple minutes on collections and maybe take a few questions and probably end it. That was a long video. But let me show you collections real quickly. I haven't done hardly anything with this, so hopefully I do it right. This is going to be more like if you want to run an entire scene. So let's see what moods I have. Let's go to music, maybe. And so how about sound effects? Yeah, I have more effects that aren't one-shots, probably. So let's do, I wonder actually if I have a good one to do this on. I might import one other because I want to make this meaningful. I think there's a high C's. Let's try that one. Yeah, 106. So high C's, and we'll close it. We'll search bookmark, copy bookmarks. We'll import this one more time. That should be the last one we do. All right. So let's clear this and let's look for high C's. I think that's going to be the name of the pack. High C's battle, maybe? Or maybe just high C's. Yeah, like this is what I was looking for. Awesome. So I don't want one shots, but maybe it's music and effects. Might be sound effects. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so we'll just say ship battle. Okay, so in this case, and we'll just say, I don't know, we'll say C encounters. I don't know. Set it as the type. So let's say I'm going to drag a bunch of these on. I want to have some seagulls in the background. I want to have a bow through the waves, the rigging creaking, maybe some lightning strikes, some wind, or heavy rain and some wind. Sails in the high wind, I like that. And howling wind. So all of these are now creating a scene or a collection. So if I want to play all of these, I can basically, drop this link in one of my story entries. And if I click play, it should start the entire sequence. So pretty cool. So you have like a preset entire background that you can, drag and drop anything you want to create a collection. So, and then in that case, you can stop it. So if you want to stop it all, easy enough to stop it. And remember, like any entry, if you did want to have like a sound bar, you could drag it down here, audio collection. So if I click on that, pop up, or you can do it in the story entry. So that's most of the functionality. Now, the last thing I did want to remember is if you want to export this. So now that I'm, maybe I create all my master sounds in this one campaign. And then if you want to export it, \export. And you'll pull up, let's get rid of all this so it's not confusing and we can focus on this. So let's say, okay, I want this to be GWID's master audio mod or GWID's master audio files. I don't know. I'm not going to do a thumbnail. You don't have to, but you can drop a thumbnail in here if you want. We'll just call it, GWID's master audio. You can say category if you want to make it your own category. Say, and this is how it'll show up in modules. Let's just say sounds. And I'll say this, I'll give this to Celestian since this is all his stuff. So, so now you can see if you expand this, here are all the types of things you can export. So if we want to export audio collections and triggers, we can export all of those. So let's do that. So it should export everything that I created in this. So anything that I created should be exported. So let's hit export, and module exported successfully. Now, I don't want to go out and get out of Fantasy Grounds and confuse you, but what I'm going to do for a second is I'm going to force a reload, and then I should be able to, like, I don't think I can go in now and find that module. I shouldn't be able to. So, oh, did the wrong thing. So modules, and if I say, I know it was called sound, I think, right? Yeah, so these are all things, these are all old. And then Matacuri I use for all my Pathfinder 2 stuff. I like his sound stuff too. But let's do this. Let's do a /reload. And it's going to reload for a second, so I'll just talk over this while it's reloading. But it should, once it's reloaded, give me the ability to pull up that module. So that's a way you can, again, create all your links and maybe keep a master campaign where that's all you're doing. Keep it clean. So whenever you want to create a new sound link or file, you can just do it there, export it, and always have like one module that's keeping all of your sound files. So should load in a minute. Shouldn't take too much longer. I appreciate those of you that have stayed with me. I know this was a long stream. That's just a tutorial, but yeah, here we go. So let's see if that worked. So again, we'll go up to our menu, modules, and let's type in sound. No, shoot. I don't know why, and I probably should have tried that before I tried this module. I wonder if I can do it by Celestian. Maybe I did something wrong there. Oh, there it is. Huh, I wonder why I couldn't look. Oh, I called it Gwyd's Master Audio. That's why. Okay, good. So there it is. I didn't put a thumbnail in, or it would have an image kind of like this did. If I did have an image, it would be here. So Gwyd's Master Audio, and I could load it. And if I load it, and again, I've already created those in here, so it's redundant, but now it's loaded. And if I go to my audio records, and if I drop this down, now I have Gwyd's Master Audios. So all of my audio links that I imported in, it should be everything that was in the original module. And that's, again, just, and then if you go to triggers, let's close this out. Gwyd's Master Audio. So again, these are the triggers we created, so you could import these into any campaign you want. So that's it. You know, I'm sure there's things that I didn't cover. Let me look at my notes real quick, but I hope that's a pretty good overview, and I hope this helps some of you avoid some of the pitfalls that I had when I first launched this awesome extension and tried to use it. So thanks again to Celestian. Thanks for Fantasy Grounds for all they do. I love Fantasy Grounds Unity. It's awesome. Can't wait to start using this for AD&D. Thanks to Syrinscape. Love using their sounds. So if you all joined late, sorry, I'm just wrapping up, so I'm about to shut down, but I will be, it might take me a day or so, but I will be uploading this entire tutorial. We went a little over an hour onto YouTube. So thanks again for everybody that joined me live, and those that are watching on YouTube. Drop a comment. If you watch the video and you like it, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that it's helpful for you. I know this is going to be a very specific video, so I'm not sure how many folks will find it, but hopefully Celestian will link to it too. So thanks again. I hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday afternoon, and hit me up on Fantasy Grounds forums or Discord if you have any questions, or if you need anything related to the module or audio in general. So hope to see you all around the Fantasy Grounds forums. Have a great day.